UFC 322, Jack Della Maddalena against Islam Makhachev. What really happened? Let's talk about it. The main card was super exciting, was stacked from bottom to top. Before the fights even started, a fight broke out in the stands. That's some real New York shit right there, and I support it. Let's get right into Beneil Dariush against Benoit Saint Denis. This was a crazy fight. Honestly, I thought Beneil Dariush was going to be able to do a little more, but Benoit comes out 16 seconds, boop, right behind the ear, said night night. Dariush was contesting the finish at the end, but let's all be realistic here. He was face down, ass up, and that was night for him. 16-second knockout for Benoit. Balls, man. Very, very impressive. And his post-fight press conference, dude, this guy is a stud, man, talking about the armed forces. They actually were mentioning that he mentioned that in his last fight. So the fact that he brought it up again, man, this guy's just so passionate. How can you not love him? Moving right into the Edwards and Prates fight. If you remember in my breakdown, I was a little bit worried that Edwards was going to dictate how this fight played out. And I'm actually really happy the opposite happened. Edwards did have a nice first round. The first minute started, they were just kind of touching each other and feeling out. Edwards moved right into some takedowns and some clinch work against the fence. Prates was very objectionable to the grappling. He was talking to Leon Edwards and basically telling him, bro, you're a bitch. Let's stand up. You think you're nice with the hands. I'm going to put you to sleep. And that's exactly what he did. Round two, Prates came out. He was feeling himself a little bit. He started, I think he really picked up on something that Edwards was doing because he started fighting with his hands down a little bit. He was totally not interested in the grappling exchange. So in round two, when Edwards tried to engage him in a little bit of grappling, he just kind of shucked them off. And then the movement and the way that he was kind of dictating the fight on the feet, it kind of felt inevitable that something was going to happen. And then bang, round two, KO, knocked Edwards out. He's never been finished before. So very, very impressive from Prates. Man, that weight division is absolutely stacked right now. And I can't wait to see what's going to play out in 2026 for that weight division. Moving in right into the next fight, we have Brady against Morales. This was another knockout finish. When I was talking about this fight in the pre-fight breakdowns, my biggest concern, even though I picked Brady because I'm a big grappling guy, sometimes I got to stop making picks with my heart. And I got to start making picks with my brain, because when I saw Morales standing next to Brady, the height differential was too much for me. And that really is what played out in this fight. Morales was able to clip Brady about 2 minutes into the fight. He caused a small cut on the right eye. There was a little bit of grappling exchange, but there was a scramble, and Morales was able to stay on his feet after getting just slightly wobbled. Brady, at the end of the day, he just couldn't handle Morales's range, and that was my biggest note here. Morales was touching him a lot with the jab, and then finishing with like a hook or a 1-2. And man, all night Brady was getting, or all night. The fight didn't last very long, right? But for the time being that it lasted, Morales was just piecing him up really, and Brady, being that the height was just a little bit too much for him to overcome, he couldn't get in on the body of Morales to really work his takedowns or his grappling. Inevitably, he was knocked out in round one. Pretty devastating loss for Brady. I wonder what he's going to do after this fight. I'm still interested in watching him fight, but it kind of lowers his stock a little bit in terms of the overall status of him in the UFC. However, Morales has really laid a name for himself. He's undefeated, 19-0. He's an absolute stud. He comes with the style. He comes with the flair. If he can learn some English, I think he's going to get a lot of fans. I bet he already has a lot of fans. But I think always learning English, and that really just helps you in the UFC at the end of the day. So let's talk about the co-main event. Shevchenko against Weili Zhang. Man, I had Zhang in this fight, and a lot of other people did too. The odds were pretty tight, and I felt like going into this fight, the expectation was that Zhang was going to be able to hang. Zhang could hang, and at the end of the day, she could not hang. There was a big $10,000 bet placed on Weili Zhang to win something like 21-4. About 2 rounds into that fight, I was like, man, that guy feels like shit right now. I'll tell you what. So, my heart goes out to that guy who lost 10K pretty handily. I have a lot of notes. There was a lot of cool things that happened in this fight. For a ladies fight, there was a lot of fireworks, and that was kind of the expectation here. But sometimes there could be a little bit of dancing. But Shevchenko really dominated all the exchanges and really had some great moments that were pretty exciting throughout the fight. She did walk out in those glasses, though, which is, I mean, I don't know how everybody feels, but kind of S tier cringe for me. And as soon as the fight started, what I noticed was that Zhang was throwing feints from a distance that was just ungodly. Like, you're not punching anybody from there. And within a minute of the fight, I was proved a little bit wrong, because she does have very swift foot movement. So she was able to close the distance on Shevchenko, I think, one time early in the fight. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's why she's throwing the feints from distance. But for me, when you're 8 feet away from 5 feet away, let's be realistic, 5 feet away from somebody, any feint that you're throwing is not really respected. And I think Zhang felt a little bit uncomfortable closing the distance on Shevchenko, and for good reason, because literally every time she did try to close the distance, Shevchenko was able to retract a little bit, but then land something either up the middle or a spinning attack. Everything was just so clean from Shevchenko all night. She landed a knee to the body really early that seemed to affect Zhang and really put her on notice. I would say that realistically, Shevchenko dominated every round of this fight. I don't think I actually wrote down what the judges thought about it, but it was clearly a unanimous decision. I would imagine all the judges felt that way, that every round went to Shevchenko. She was landing big spinning back fists. She had a takedown at the end of the 2 takedowns by the end of the first round. She finishes the round in half guard and just really was able, basically that's what she was able to do every round. Round 2, Wiley's still feinting from distance. She seems timid to close in. Shevchenko body locks her to the takedown. Easy work right into half guard. She's looking for a crucifix a couple of times. She was not really landing anything significant from the top, but her action kind of dictated the fact that even though she wasn't landing like a lot of like deadly ground and pound, she was able to keep in control Weili Zhang on the ground pretty easily. Round 3, Shevchenko, it seems like she's really figuring out Zhang, who wants to fight at distance. And overall, every time there's a grappling exchange, Shevchenko just felt like she was a lot stronger than Zhang. There was a lot of over-under exchanges or double under or double over exchanges where Shevchenko was like lifting Zhang off of her feet, like spinning her around like it was a hoedown. So Zhang didn't really have any answers for her, and that kind of proliferated throughout the entire fight. Round 4, I got Shevchenko lands a body kick. Wiley reacts. Shevchenko pushing her up against the fence. She's landing some nice clinch work, some dirty boxing. By the 4th round, I felt like Zhang was kind of mentally out of the fight. And then Shevchenko just gets takedown number 4 after catching a kick right into half guard. Then, the ground and pound's still weak, but she's so dominant everywhere, it doesn't really matter. And then moving into round 5, Zhang's corner tells her takedown into submission. And I wrote right underneath that, not happening. So the advice was like, all right, we need to get a finish, but the takedown into submission finish, I mean, I guess that's the best bet, because maybe the coaches felt because she was fighting up a weight class that she didn't really have the power to put Shevchenko out. But we all know that Wiley Zhang can pepper somebody with a combo. So I would have felt like, hey man, we just got to throw it all out there at this point and kind of go crazy. But Shevchenko is so tactical that likely Zhang probably felt like she would get clipped, or the coaches felt like she would get clipped and probably finished in dramatic fashion. But going for the takedown, and she listened to her coaches, so props to her. She went right after it and tried to get it done. But realistically, the advice was probably not the best advice, and it did not happen. So Shevchenko gets a takedown with 3 minutes left. Moves right into half guard, and the fight ends up ending like this. Clear unanimous decision by Shevchenko. I did have Wiley Zhang before this fight, but I'll tell you what, Shevchenko really impressed me. Shevchenko's 37 years old, and she just looks sharp as ever. I don't know realistically who's going to beat her. Thinking back to it, I can't believe Alexa Grasso did beat her. It was just an off night for her at the end of the day. So just super, super impressed with Shevchenko. She gave props to her coach afterward. She's just a stand-up character. So very impressive fight. Definitely in the talks for the best women fighter of all time. So let's see how that pans out. Now, let's talk about the thing that we all came to talk about. Islam Makhachev against JDM, Jack Della Maddalena. Now, we have Makhachev moving up a weight class to achieve double champ status. Absolutely epic, and a huge moment for Islam Makhachev, and a really big moment for JDM as well. That dude's nose is absolutely diabolical. Like, what is going? I feel like he broke his nut. Never mind. But yeah, Jack Delamain is coming out. He looks pissed. He's ready to go. He's ready to fight. Let's talk about Islam Makhachev's walkout. He comes out to the techno. He may or may not be on Molly. We don't know. He's definitely not, but just a little joke that I wrote down. But one thing I noticed about Makhachev on the walkout is he looked calm, real calm, like on Molly calm. That's why it was said that. And he had the techno music going, but he wasn't bobbing his head at all. Like, he's an interesting character, man, but I absolutely love him. JDM's walkout. He comes out to AC/DC TNT. He's pissed off. He's ready to go. He looks like he's in fight ready shape. What I wrote down is this is a dope matchup. Like, the energy of the walkout on that one was just palpable. And I really liked it. Let's move right into what happened in the fight. Round 1, JDM comes out, pressure immediately. He's got a high guard. He's kind of trying to not let Islam Makhachev settle in by peppering a lot of shots. And almost immediately, Islam is in on a leg and he finishes the half guard like lightning. It was epic. JDM kind of sitting there getting controlled. There was some really nice scrambles early on when JDM had some energy. He was able to elevate Islam Makhachev a couple of times, but the high level grappling that Makhachev has, he was able to maintain hip control basically everywhere that the bigger man JDM was able to toss him. But through hip control and just good balance, Islam Makhachev was able to maintain control of JDM basically throughout any scrambles. He had really decent ground and pound all the way through the end of the round. And then as the round finished, JDM lands an illegal up kick, and Herb Dean lets him know that Islam was a downed opponent. In fact, they didn't really it wasn't that big of a deal. It didn't land super clean. Islam didn't love it, but at the end of the day, there was no penalties given or anything like that. And I don't think there was any major damage to Islam at that point, which would have been a big factor, right? Say he rocked him with that up kick, and then came out and he was a little bit wobbled in round two. But that is not what happened. Round two comes out. Islam is again, I forgot to mention in round one, Islam was able to pepper him with some leg kicks. And in round two, he comes out and he's touching him again with the leg kicks. I think early on in this fight, Islam was able to land something really nice and meaty into the leg that really compromised JDM's leg. Joe Rogan and DC were making comment of it throughout that they really felt that JDM was compromised on one of his legs or possibly his knee. Islam gets another takedown, basically 1 minute in. Khabib yelling "smash him" from the sideline. Absolutely epic. You gotta love that from Khabib. Is that really good coach advice though? Smash him, whatever. Islam's being safe in half guard. He's landing shoulder strikes. He's got some light ground and pound going. He certainly didn't smash him, but he definitely handled him. What I did notice is that there were a couple of times that Joe Rogan was like, he's in on a choker. He's working on a Kimura or looking for a Darce, and it's like, oh, not even close. And they kept giving him credit for being close to finishes. And granted, Islam was working on some stuff, but I think the biggest factor here is that fighting up, even though he was able to maintain control throughout the fight, JDM was a little bit stronger. And I think that was a difference maker and why Islam wasn't able to finish him in the fight. Round two finishes on the feet. JDM, definitely made some attempts to get back to his feet, but it was too little too late most of the time. It was almost like Islam knew it was the end of the round, and he kind of just allowed JDM to kind of finish the round at the end of his feet. But being that you controlled 90% of the round and landed good ground and pound, that there's absolutely no way that a judge would score a victory for you for that round. So again, Islam up 2 rounds now, pretty easy control. Moving into round 3, let's see. Moving into round 3, the corner advice is starting to get a little bit frantic for JDM. And the advice that they're giving him, the way JDM is reacting to it, it's like, yeah, I would do that if I could do that, but I can't do that. So JDM's kind of like, yeah, I hear you, but how do I do it? Kind of situation. So round 3, JDM lets a combo go. About 2 minutes in, it's kind of the only action he really has for the whole fight. They give him a little bit of moment in terms of the commentary, and then boom, double leg. Makhachev takes him right down. Again, my notes are that JDM is strong enough to fight off his finishes, and he's skilled, but he's not skilled enough to really grapple his way efficiently back to his feet. By this time, the leg is really compromised, and Islam is basically just resting on his laurels. Again, he's in half guard. He's landing light ground and pound. Certainly nothing to write home about, but we'll win you the round every day. So moving into round 4, JDM's corner says, we've been working on doing no half guard all camp, no half guard. And then Islam comes out, looks crisp everywhere, calf kicks landing clean. JDM feeling a little timid, easy double leg takedown right into half guard. And it's like, again, the corner advice is like, dude, don't get into half guard. And then within a minute of the round, or halfway into the round, he's sitting in half guard and taking light ground and pound. Islam Makhachev able to get hooks in at 230. He moves to a body triangle. He has the arm trapped for a moment. Again, he's working on stuff, but he never really gets it there because JDM's strength, he was able to kind of just, bulldog his way through some things that he was getting moved into. He's able to roll back to guard, back into half guard. His leg is badly bruised. They zoomed in on it during the footage, and it looked beat up. So and the repeated kicks to the calf really can compromise a person. It's really amazing to see a guy who does take a lot of leg kicks and you don't really notice the effect on his face or his movement. But in this case, JDM really did look compromised. The takedowns seemed really easy. He seemed to be favoring one side of his body. He was grimacing at times. So he might have actually been like injured in the knee, ligament, something like that. Islam finishes the round looking for a Kimura, and this fight is all Islam. Moving into round 5, again, the corner advice to JDM is take a risk, be an animal, and JDM just has kind of lost the look of fight in his face. Again, I say that with a grain of salt, but the dude's an absolute dog. And he's a fighter to the core. But I think at this point that maybe the leg was overly compromised, and he's down 4 rounds. And with your leg being compromised and you're a striker, it really makes it difficult to like turn into your punches and offer like a knockout blow. So I think he was feeling a little bit debilitated at the moment. And again, he kind of lost a little bit of the fight in his eyes. Islam moves into an easy double leg takedown straight into a Kimura, half guard, ground and pound. I sound like I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again, but that's basically how the fight finished, and it was dominant fashion, double champ. Islam Makhachev is one of the best ever. I'm taking nothing away from JDM. I think he is a very promising fighter in the future, and I'm excited to watch him fight. Like I said, the guy is an absolute dog, but the grappling was the difference here. And when it comes to guys like Khabib and Islam Makhachev and even Sabatini in his demonstration, it just goes to show that the grappling, even though may not be what everybody wants to see, is the most dominant form of fighting in the UFC currently. Now, if you could pepper in some excellent striking in that, and you're a well-rounded fighter, and you're also a black belt, that's what MMA is all about, right? So, and that's what Islam was saying going into this fight, is that perhaps if it was a striking engagement, that JDM would be able to, hang. But this is MMA, brother. So, and things shook out the way they did. I know this one's probably getting a little lengthy, but thanks for sticking in there with me. These were super exciting fights. It was UFC 322. I bought the pinstripe suit out for this one. Hopefully you guys are tuning in, liking, subscribing, and we're going to have a lot more to come. So thank you.